Hello. It's about time for Ace Attorney. Copy paste. Make sure the music's going. Yeah. Hello. It's about time for Ace Attorney. Okay, that sounds good. Okay. You click at this lovely loading screen. Well, I will be right back. I need to go do. Let's see. Okay, I'll be right back. I gotta go fill up water quick, and then we can get started. Alright, let's fucking go! Final day! Trial former. February 25th, 9:47 a.m. District Court, Defendant Lobby number 2. We're here early today. Usually we're here like 10 minutes before, now we're 13 minutes. This is the Defendant Lobby, alright? But there's no defendant. I'm trying to reach Lana all morning. Where could she be? And where's Emma, for that matter? It almost seems as if something's been happening behind the scenes. Oh, Edgeworth. Knowing you, you've already figured it out. Who the owner of the 7 ID number is, that is. Well, I have a pretty strong hunch. Looks like I'm not the only one who's figured it out. You know, the only reason this trial didn't reach a verdict yesterday is because there is still room for doubt regarding this ID record. If that number does belong to whom you suspect, then no doubt will remain. After all, he hasn't been officially charged with anything. True. Not yet. In any event, once all doubt has been removed from that list, I can call for a ruling. 5 minutes, right? And Chief Prosecutor Skye will be found guilty. But she didn't do it! I figured you'd say as much. That's why I came here, to hear what you have to say. It's the first time he's ever done something like this. Lana's hiding something, and the only way we'll ever know the truth is to draw it out of her. The truth? Everything goes back to the SL9 incident. Don't be stupid. Today's the last day of the trial. We don't have time to reminisce about the Edgeworth. Like, what are you that was like the whole last what? That depends on you. If she's found guilty, you'll lose your only chance to find out what really happened. I'll think about it. See you in court, right? This is it. If I'm ever gonna find out what Chief Gant has on her, it's now. February 25th, 10 a.m., District Court, courtroom number 9. Court is now in session for the trial of Miss Lana Skye. Defense is ready, Your Honor. Prosecution is ready, Your Honor. Normally, this is when the prosecution puts forth its opening statement. But before that, the police chief has a proposal to make. Chief Gant. Morning, folks. How's everyone doing? AIG? Been back at the pool yet? No, I've been drowning enough as it is in my work. Oh, that's a good one. Don't think I can top that. If you don't mind me asking, Chief, exactly what is this proposal of yours? Lana, that is to say the defendant, has asked me if she could speak directly to the court. She wants to do what? Having heard what she intends to say, I feel she should be granted her request. In the end, it should save everyone a lot of time and trouble. What's this all about, defendant? Just like to make a simple request and I'll be finished. Well then, what's your request? Your Honor, I'd like you to put an immediate end to this trial. Huh? I confess to all charges against me. On February 21st of this year, I murdered Detective Bruce Goodman in the underground parking lot of the prosecutor's office. No, Lana! You can't! Your Honor, the defendant's claim does not change the defense's plea. In that case, Mr. Wright, I no longer require your services. Lana! Your Honor, I hereby forfeit my right to an attorney. The prosecution may lack direct evidence against me, but it has sufficiently proven its case through testimony and circumstantial evidence. I'd like you to render your verdict now, if you please. Well, the defendant certainly has the right to self-representation. The request is legally valid, though it is an unprecedented situation. Indeed, it appears there's no further need to continue this trial, even if Mr. Wright may feel otherwise. Oh, fuck. Well, I didn't expect that. I should have expected that. It appears the time for the verdict has arrived. This court finds the defendant. Thank you, Edgeworth. Good lord. One moment, Your Honor. Mr. Edgeworth? The prosecution has not yet proven the defendant guilty beyond reasonable doubt. Any ruling at this stage would certainly be premature. Come now, Worthy. I understand this is a difficult time for you. But why don't you just be a good little boy and keep your mouth shut, I don't think I care for your tone, Chief Gant. What? Creating another fabrication to cover up your past mistakes. Sorry, but I'm no longer the naive little boy you would have me be. With this sudden confession from the defendant, it's obvious to me some kind of deal was struck behind the scenes. Some kind of deal, hmm? Not everyone operates as you do, Worthy. I thought so. Your Honor, the prosecution would like to change its first witness. Oh, to whom? As its first witness, the prosecution would like to call Miss Emma Skye. I request the court hear her testimony. Mr. Edgeworth, I'm trying to exercise my right to self-representation. I don't think we need to I don't care what you think, Miss Skye. The exposure of truth sometimes results in tragedy. However, no matter how tragic the truth may be, it would be an even greater tragedy to avert one's eyes from it. Very well, the court shall grant the prosecution's request. That's okay with you, right, Chief Gant? Worthy, you'll live to regret this. Mark my words. Miss Emma Skye, please take the stand. Looks like Edgeworth has decided to take the horse by the reins. Fuck yeah, Edgeworth. Ah, he's so cool. The witness, please state your name and occupation. My name is Emma Skye. My occupation? I'm Lana's little sister, and I want to be a scientific investigator. 2 years ago, you encountered the serial killer Joe Dock of the Joe Dock killings. Is this correct? Yes. I'm trying my hardest to forget about that, though. I'm sorry, but I'm afraid I'm going to have to ask you to recall those events one more time. Mr. Edgeworth, please remember this trial concerns the murder of Detective Goodman. Is an incident that was resolved 2 years ago really all that relevant? Yes, it most certainly is. Well, okay then. I sure gave in fast. Now, please testify about what happened to you 2 years ago. God, I wish the tech was faster. The trip to yesteryear has finally begun. It's bound to lead to the truth behind this trial. 2 years ago. Let's go. I was waiting in my sister's office that day. A man came rushing in and took me hostage. Neil Marshall rescued me. But I'll never forget what I saw in that instant. The man raised his knife and stabbed Mr. Marshall in the chest. He stabbed him in the back, didn't he? It's a good thing you weren't harmed. I passed out. I don't remember much. It's understandable. However, please tell me, Mr. Edgeworth, what does this testimony have to do with Detective Goodman's murder? That will soon become apparent, Your Honor. You could admire him for his courage, considering he has no evidence. Very well, the defense may begin its cross-examination. Yeah. Waiting in my sister's office that day. 2 years ago, the defendant was a detective at the police department, correct? Yes. She was second in command under the Deputy Chief of Police Gant. My sister, she was the best detective ever. Yes, I remember. Deputy Chief Gant and Miss Skye used to be quite the pair. I believe they shared the same office. That's right. I'd always sit at my sister's desk. And dreamt about playing that organ. I wanted to play it that day, too. The police department and the prosecutor's office held a ceremony that day. Lana promised to take me to dinner after she finished her work. A man? Yes, Joe Dark. He was a serial killer. Joe Dark was brought in for questioning on the day of that ceremony. We were desperate to get anything on him that would lead to an arrest. When he saw his chance, he fled the room, right? Upon fleeing the room, Doc proceeded to take the elevator. He must have been in a panic because the elevator was going up. Then he ran into Skye and Gant's office. There was a lot of noise coming from outside, so I opened up the door to have a look. And that's when I saw him. What was the prosecutor doing there? That day, there were two people present during Doc's questioning. Deputy Chief Damon Gant and Prosecutor Neil Marshall. Almost forgot about Gant. Neil Marshall has just received the King of Prosecutors Award. Young and dedicated. Oh, dedicated. God, fuck. It took me a bit. Young and dedicated, he went straight to the questioning room after the ceremony. I assume that would also be why he was the first to run after Dark. When Dark grabbed me, I thought I was good. I thought it was as good as dead. That's when Prosecutor Marshall came running in. I don't clearly remember what happened then, but never forget what I saw in that instant. Can you tell us about that? Mr. Marshall jumped on Dark, and then the lights went out. The lights? It was just about this time of the year. There was a terrible storm going on, and lightning struck nearby. So the electricity went out? Wait a minute. It was pitch dark in that room. You shouldn't have been able to see anything, right? Right, but just then, lightning flashed again, outside. That sudden flash left an unforgettable image of the scene in my mind. I see. I told the detective what I saw then. The detective? Yes, Detective Goodman. He was in charge of the case. Detective Bruce Goodman, the victim. Hear more. So you spoke with Detective Goodman about this 2 years ago? Yes. That's what's so scary about this trial. And you told Detective Goodman what you saw? Yes, but at the time, the words just wouldn't come out. That's why I drew a picture. Picture? Yeah, I think she mentioned that before. Well, Mr. Wright, have you heard enough? This picture that the witness drew, I believe it has a very important meaning. But the list of evidence I was given 2 years ago didn't contain a picture. Witness, would you mind if we added this statement to your testimony? Yes, Your Honor. I drew a picture of that scene once, but it seems to have been lost. Must have been a real shock. Even now, when I close my eyes, I can still see it just as clearly. Tell us, what were you doing at that moment? I believe you testified that Joe Dark was holding you hostage. When lightning struck and the lights went out, Mr. Marshall jumped on Dark. I was thrown aside and the two began wrestling each other. I'm pretty sure I was watching them. That doesn't have any reason to lie. But Lana sure does. I need to get Emma to tell me as much about this as she can. You drew a picture of the scene you witnessed, right? Yes. I wanted to do everything I could to help the investigation. I can still see it now, whenever I close my eyes. That's strange. I took over the case after Prosecutor Marshall died, yet I never received any picture. Perhaps the witness is mistaken. But I did draw it, I swear. I'm not just imagining it. This picture that Emma drew, it reminds me. I guess I should check the evidence again. Well, anyway, let's continue. Seeing them printed on the image in your mind, can you please describe it to us? A man... It wasn't lost. I have it. Mr. Edgeworth, this little girl put all her heart into drawing that picture. And yet you would insist on denying its existence? Huh? Hey, I'm not the bad guy. All I'm saying is that the prosecutor for this case, I wasn't handed such a picture. That may well be. But that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Behold. This is the evidence list for the SL9 incident. Please turn it over, Your Honor. Turn it over? Turn it. Aha! What's this? Yes. What is that? Hey, that's it! That's the picture I drew. Indeed. Two men appear to be wrestling here. What's the meaning of this? What are you doing with that list? Me? Only the prosecutor in charge should have access to that list. Huh? These lists, they're different from each other. What? It would appear, Mr. Edgeworth, that the evidence list you were handed 2 years ago was incomplete. These two lists fit together to form one. You can see the marks here where they were torn apart from each other. So you see, Mr. Edgeworth, it's quite obvious what happened. 2 years ago, only half of the evidence in this case ever reached you. What? What? Order! Order! Well, Miss Skye, why did you draw your picture on the back of such an important list? Because that's what Detective Goodman handed me in the questioning room, Your Honor. Wait a minute. This list was torn in half, and that means... Your Honor. You're all right, Mr. Wright. Your eyes are bulging from your head. If the evidence list was torn in half, then there might be more to the drawing on the back of Mr. Edgeworth's list. It is quite conceivable, Mr. Edgeworth. It's possible. Let's see. Something wrong? You even have to ask? Sorry, Your Honor. There is indeed something drawn on the back of my list. That is, that thing. Why is the badger drawn on the back? What? That's that thing. That thing that was dancing in the evidence room. Clearly, this act of vandalism is the work of a certain chief of detectives. I guess he was out of scrap paper. Evidence list restored and updated in the court record. Half of this list was found in Gant's desk. Very well, witness. Hold on, I gotta see this. That's the blue badger. That can't be just Gumshoe. Can it? Is it the jar? Yeah, it's the blue badger. This fucker. It's his head, see? Just your head. Could it be the unstable vase? I don't think so. It'd be weird. It'd be strange if it was. I don't quite know what it would be. Will you please testify about this picture you drew 2 years ago? Huh? Oh, yes, sir, Your Honor. What's wrong with Emma? She seemed to be thinking about something when she was looking at that picture. That was... yeah. This is the picture I drew 2 years ago. The flash of lightning was so bright, all I could see were shadows. After that, I must have fainted. This picture says exactly what I saw in that instant. I think a flash of lightning could burn such an image in your mind. Thanks to that, though, she was able to show us exactly what she saw. I don't see any contradictions here. This clearly shows Joe Dark about to murder prosecutor Neil Marshall. The defense may now begin its cross-examination. Did you draw this picture right after the incident? I think I drew it 2 or 3 days later. At first I was in such a state of shock that I couldn't do anything. During that time, the investigation team was reorganized. Detective Goodman was placed in charge, under the direction of Damon Grant and Lana Skye. 2 or 3 days later, the memory should still have been fresh in her mind. Excuse me, witness. Can you please tell us why this picture is painted all black? Flash of lightning so bright I could see were shadows. So at the time you didn't even know it was Mr. Marshall who had come to your rescue? No, I couldn't see him clearly. The lightning was so bright. And I was knocked to the floor. Knocked to the floor. Dark had a tight grip on me. When Mr. Marshall jumped on him, I was knocked away. I turned around. And that's when lightning flashed. Poor Emma. I'm just glad she wasn't hurt. What happened after the lightning flashed? You mean you didn't see the actual murder take place? No, I'm sorry. The flash of lightning only drove off the darkness for a split second. Not only that, the trauma of the situation understandably caused the witness to faint. Do you really need to torture this girl any further? What? Hey, I'm not the bad guy here! Anyway, this picture. Exactly what I saw during that instant. Sorry for asking so many times, but are you sure you drew exactly what you saw? Of course, this is exactly the scene. Was it influenced in any way from your talks with the detectives? Are you insinuating we are somehow manipulating her memory, Mr. Wright? No, of course not. Better watch out or we might find some way to cut my salary. I drew this picture before I heard anything from the detectives, so I don't think anyone's story will have influenced me. Mr. Wright, there's something that's bothering you about this picture. Huh? Oh, well... It's strange. It claims this is exactly the scene that was imprinted on her mind. And yet, there's clearly a contradiction here. What is the contradiction here? Name of the deceased, Neil Marshall, 27. Time of death, February 19th, between 7 p.m. and 7:30 p.m. Cause of death, a single stab wound piercing the heart and lung. Died from blood loss in under 10 minutes. Weapon found in wound was missing tip. Leather cloth. Print belongs to Emma. I'll keep this information to myself. This is exactly what I saw in that instant. Belonged to murderer Joe Dark. exactly what I saw in that instant. Do I pull the... Do I pull that, the picture? Because if she saw something that is actually the... It looks like the badger head. Picture I drew 2 years ago. Flash of lightning was so bright all I could see were shadows. Must have fainted. Picture shows exactly what I saw in that instant. Just the knife? Because at that point, the knife, Joe Dark's knife... Assuming it's exactly. Joe Dark's knife has already been broken then. Right? The tip of the knife was found in the wound. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but this picture the witness drew contains a blatant contradiction. What? I still remember it like it was just yesterday. Mr. Wright, perhaps it would be faster if you simply pointed out this contradiction for us. What part of this picture contradicts the autopsy report? Contradiction, of course, lies here. Take a look at the knife the man is holding. If you look closely, you can see its tip is broken. I don't have to look closely to see that, Mr. Wright. Mr. Wright, look at the evidence. Mr. Wright, look at the evidence. See the murder weapon? Its tip is broken too. If I recall, the tip of the knife was found broken off in the victim's body. It was the conclusive piece of evidence that proved Joe Dark was the murderer. I'm afraid it's not so simple, Emma. And where, pray tell, could you possibly see a problem? It's obvious, really. The victim suffered a single stab wound to the back. The victim was only stabbed once. And the murder weapon should be not yet broken. Ah! What's the meaning of this? Perhaps the knife was broken beforehand. Sorry, but I'm afraid that's not possible. The tip of the knife was found inside the victim's body. If it was broken beforehand, it couldn't possibly wind up there. That's right. What is... The tip of the knife was undeniably discovered within the victim's body. The only possible explanation is the witness's memory is mistaken. That's why I asked her so many times if she was sure she remembered correctly. I believe you were annoyed at the time. She was sure she remembered correctly. But there's no other way to explain this inconsistency. Not so fast, Mr. Edgeworth. Here's another explanation. Have you forgotten already? Of a little something called falsified evidence? We're treading on thin ice, right? All I'm saying is that this broken knife tip might be the piece of evidence that was forged. You can't deny the possibility. No. Ah! Order! 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 Are you saying the investigation really was corrupted? Your Honor, please allow me to once again go over the events that took place the day of the murder. The police department and the prosecutor's office were holding a ceremony that day. After receiving the King Prosecutor's Award at the ceremony, Neil Marshall questioned Joe Dark along with Damon Grant. During his questioning, Joe Dark fled the room. Prosecutor Marshall chased after him and was killed by Dark. It is my belief that somewhere in this story, there is a lie. I'm not lying. The man really was holding up a broken knife. If that's true, then there's no other way around it. This could not have been the actual murder weapon. There must have been another broken knife. What are the chances of there being 2 broken knives? Another broken knife besides Joe Dark's. Could there have been one? There is another one. If the witness is adamant about the accuracy of what she saw, it can't just be explained away by a simple observational error. Mr. Wright? In that instant, Emma really did see a broken knife. I assume, then, that you have some information about this other broken knife. If so, please feel free to enlighten us. The murder weapon was already broken prior to the murder. There's only one way. Take a look at this. Here's the real murder weapon. I present the trophy or the picture? Let's present the picture. The answer lies in the past. 2 years in the past. Right here inside this picture. This picture of the award ceremony. This is a picture of the award ceremony. Ah! What is it, Mr. Edgeworth? It's the broken murder weapon. Notice the award Prosecutor Marshall is holding? That's a broken knife. As we earlier concluded, the knife in the drawing was not Joe Dark's knife. That being the case, the knife the witness saw was in all likelihood from this award. Order! 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 Neil Marshall was awarded the King of Prosecutors that day. As an award, he was given this broken shield and knife. When he chased after Joe Dark, he pulled out this knife. Being a prosecutor, he did not carry a pistol. This broken knife was the only weapon he had in this dangerous situation. But that can't be. Oh? Why not, Mr. Edgeworth? Because if the King of Prosecutors Award knife was the murder weapon, then the murderer was the murder and the victim would be reversed. What do you mean? I mean, this man raising the knife would have been Prosecutor Neil Marshall. Oh. Oh! The prosecutor was the one who actually died. That's true. What's going on here? It seems Mr. Wright has been a bit too eager to jump to conclusions. Hold it. Wait, I remember now. I remember everything. Witness? Mr. Edgeworth. What is it? Show me your evidence list again, please. His list? The one with that picture scribbled on the back. It's the Blue Badger. I knew it. This picture, I'm the one who drew it. What? You drew that? That's right. The list wasn't torn in half at the time I drew this picture. All this time I've been trying so hard to forget. Must have locked this part away deep inside me. Perhaps it would be best if we add this to the witness's testimony. Would you please tell us what you recalled, Miss Skye? Yes, Your Honor. First the knife mix-up, and now the Blue Badger? This should be interesting. That was recollection. What the fuck? When I saw that man raise his knife, I panicked and rushed towards both of them. I think I knocked away the man with the knife. Just then, there was another flash of lightning. That's when I saw the Blue Badger. He wasn't in the room, but I'm sure I saw his shadow. This is certainly most unusual. Try impossible. Actually. Check. If I just... Is there an angle that this looks like the Blue Badger? Kinda, actually. If you look at it weird. Yeah, look at that. That's kind of badgerish, isn't it? Try impossible. Chief of Detectives hadn't even designed him until this year. I mean, he didn't even exist 2 years ago. Yes, well, the defense may now begin its cross-examination. Stop, please, don't pursue any further. Lana! Lana! What's the meaning of this? Please remain seated in the defendant's chair. She can't do this. I've already confessed to the crime. Why can't you just leave it at that? Chief Prosecutor Skye. We've already come this far. It's too late to turn back. Silence. The defense will now begin its cross-examination. Bailiff, please detain the defendant. Seems we're finally getting to the core of this matter. Fucking hell. Emma's recollection. So that man raised his knife. When you saw that man, I assume you referred to Joe Dark. Yes, at least I think it was him. You think? All I could really see were shadows. Power outage that immediately preceded this event, the incident, is also documented in the prosecutor's office records. So then you rushed towards both of them. Why would you do something so dangerous? What else could I have done? He was about to stab Mr. Marshall. I'm convinced that Dark was the one holding the knife. But as we just theorized, Mr. Marshall was the one holding the knife. Well, I didn't know that at the time. When that Dark guy knocked me down, all I could think was, I've got to help the other person. I think I knocked away the man with the knife. What do you mean you think? It all happened so fast, and I was in shock. I don't remember everything clearly. What I did, it's all kind of a blur. Miss Skye was almost killed before the witness Miss Skye was almost killed before she was witness to a murder about to take place. So much happening in the matter of seconds. Fuck! Talking's hard. With so much happening in a matter of seconds, a little disorientation is only natural. I saw the man about to stab the other person, who I thought was Mr. Marshall. I knew I had to stop the man with the knife. What you did was very brave, young girl. So then what happened next? Just then there was another flash of lightning, and that's when I saw the Blue Badger. Are you sure about this? Of course, see? I even drew a picture of him here. But it was the chief of detectives who thought up this hideous beast. And that was just this year. The Blue Badger didn't exist 2 years ago. This is quite verifiable. I know it sounds strange. I was surprised too when I saw him at the police department. I had this nagging feeling that I'd seen him before somewhere. Now I finally remember. Oh, brother. Just when you thought that that thing had caused enough commotion. Tell us. Where in the room did you see him dancing? He wasn't in the room, but I'm sure I saw his shadow. His shadow? So you mean you didn't actually see his face with its winning smile and all? That's right, but I still remember it. It had 3 creepy horns. This is pointless. That thing couldn't have possibly existed 2 years ago. The witness must be mistaken. That may well be. What's important is what caused her to think she saw what she did. Oh? And I suppose you have an explanation? So then by all means, tell us what this shadow really was. What was it Emma saw when the lightning flashed? Who is this Blue Badger really? I just might know. Blue Badger hadn't even been dreamt up when Emma drew this picture. Yet she's certain she saw its shadow. Ladies and gentlemen, it is the defense's belief that on this fateful day 2 years ago, there indeed was something that looked similar to the Blue Badger. Something that is now sitting in this very room. Mr. Wright? Oh my god, I'm too excited, I can't breathe. In this room. Very well, Mr. Wright. What is it that the witness saw in that instant? Please show us this mysterious blue badger lookalike. It was a god-awful vase, wasn't it? The mysterious blue badger was, in fact, this. That's... what exactly is that? I believe it's some sort of jar. Mr. Wright, that doesn't look anything like the blue badger. Indeed it doesn't. As it stands now, it's just a plain jar. However, what if we were to change our viewpoint? Our viewpoint? Gotta show them the correct angle to look at this from. Like this. This isn't right. It'll make him look like a badger. Allow me to remind the defense that cases hinging on the witness's drawing. Mr. Wright can't match the shape of the witness drew. We cannot accept this claim. Come on, Mr. Wright, you can do it. Correct angle, look at this from. Like this. And then like this. It's like this, right? Oh, fuck. How's it supposed to look? Like that, right? Like that. Oh, fuck. It's so finicky. I know what it's supposed to look like. It's supposed to be this. And tilted down like this. There it is. Well, is this a miracle or what? No one can possibly deny this jar's resemblance to the blue badger. It's a very specifically shaped jar. No, it can't be. Order! Order! The defense has proven its claim. The mysterious blue badger, the witness on the day of the crime, was actually this. Although we are all enjoyed Mr. Wright's dramatic performance, one question remains. What's your point? What do you mean? So that badger thing was clearly just a jar. That doesn't change anything. I'm afraid that's where you're wrong, Mr. Edgeworth. You see, this changes everything. Indeed? Very well then. Please, tell us. What's different now that we know the witness saw this jar? The murderer, the murder weapon, the location. Is it the murderer? Okay, so let's walk this through. Location. Whereabouts was this jar located? That looks like the right side. right? The suit of armor is on Gant's side. It doesn't change the location that significantly, though. Does it change the murder weapon? The murder weapon? No, that was still the thing. That was still the knife of the the King of Prosecutors Award. Does it change the murderer? Yes. Allow me to take these in turn. At the moment of the murder, the witness saw this jar. At a very specific angle, I might add, Mr. Wright. Yes, well, knowing this, where could she have seen this jar? Where? The location of the jar is shown in the picture taken on the day of the crime. On a shelf in the office of Damon Gant. The body was found lying near Lana Sky's desk. The witness testified so herself. Yes, and it is these two facts that reveal what actually transpired. You see, the struggle between Dark and Marshall did not take place in Lana Sky's office. It happened on the other side of the room, in Chief Gant's office. Are you implying the murder moved the victim's body from Damon Gant's office to Lana Sky's office? Yes. Why would he do that? There's no reason. Exactly. If there wasn't a reason, he wouldn't have gone through the trouble. The only logical conclusion is that there was a reason. You know what the reason was, Mr. Wright? Finally figured it out. This is why Lana tried to stop the trial. Too late to quit now, though. Please recall the witness's testimony. She said she knocked away the man who was holding up the knife. In the next instant, the jar was hit and flew through the air. Now tell me, what could have sent the jar flying? It would have to have been the impact the man made when he was knocked into the wall. Ladies and gentlemen, I may draw your attention to the picture once more. The man was knocked in the direction of the shelf the jar was sitting on. What would he have hit? Ah! Oh, that's not the judge. Ah! A suit of armor, holding a very sharp and dangerous-looking sword. Yes. This is the man who was knocked into the armor was carrying a broken knife. It would have been Neil Marshall, wielding the King of Prosecutors trophy. No, Mr. Wright, you can't be thinking. Yes. There's another possibility of what actually transpired in that room. Another possibility? Of course, the perpetrator would have had no idea, but nevertheless. I don't know if I can go through with this. I'm accusing Emma Sky of killing Neil Marshall, trying to protect Joe Dark. This is fucked. What the fuck? Mr. Wright, what's the matter? If events took place as the defense theorizes, then the outcome is obvious. In that moment, assuming the man Emma Sky knocked away was actually Prosecutor Neil Marshall, you mean Mr. Marshall died because of me? No! Holy fuck! Thunk. Oh, she dropped. Never imagined her testimony would lead to this. So that's what they were covering up. Oh, and the fucking square of leather with Emma's handprints on it. That's his fucking coat. Cause the family of fucking cowboys. This is from his coat. This is where her handprint knocked Marshall away. And then Gant and Lana worked together to cover this up and pin it on Joe Dark. So it was the witness who took the victim's life. And then proved so with her own testimony. This is unprecedented. Is this unprecedented? What? What are you saying? I'm sorry, Miss Skye, but given the circumstances... Joe Dark murdered Prosecutor Marshall. How can you think it was Emma? How dare you try and pin the crime on her? You're getting nervous, Lana. Imagine that, coming from you. If you recall, it was you who admitted to forging evidence 2 years ago. The reason you moved Prosecutor Marshall's body was to keep anyone else from finding out what Emma did, wasn't it? I assure you, Mr. Edgeworth, I have no idea what you're talking about. If you hope to have anyone believe your insane allegations, I'm afraid you're going to have proof. Tell me, do you have any conclusive evidence that proves my sister killed Neil Marshall? Evidence? I'm willing to bet you don't. Yes. It certainly would be difficult to prove this with evidence. If you don't have evidence, then we'll have to rely on testimony. I'm afraid that won't work in this case. Both parties involved in the incident are dead. We certainly can't get dead people to testify. Yeah, you say that, Phoenix, but there's precedent for it. It didn't go well, but there is precedent for it. This has all been a wild goose chase from the beginning. Touche, Miss Skye. Of course, that only leaves us with one possibility. I mean, there's still another possibility? What do you mean, Mr. Edgeworth? I mean the possibility that the victim has left us a message. For better or worse, Mr. Marshall did not die instantly. He may have left behind the name of the person who took his life. In one manner or another. That's impossible. Hold on. Hold on. E... M... A... Oh, fuck! Oh, no! It was Emma! We didn't spray this with luminol, did we? Well, Mr. Wright, this is the only possibility left to you. A message from the deceased. Just such a message exists. Gotta think back to the court record. The real murderer's name that the victim may have left behind is in the evidence. This message from the deceased is already in our possession. Mr. Wright, will you stop at nothing to prove my sister a murderer? Do not be mistaken, Miss Skye. Our purpose is not to accuse Emma of any crime. There is only one thing we seek. The truth. No matter how painful it may be. Now then, Mr. Wright, please show us the piece of evidence that conveys a message from the deceased. This is the message left by the deceased. This is that blue badger from before, right? Oh, is he going to speak the killer's name? If that thing could, I'm sure it would. Looks like everyone's forgotten this is just a jar. The message was left here, on the surface of this jar. What do you mean? If you look closely, you can see a faint trail of blood on this jar. Looks like someone wiped the blood away. Yes, but notice. For some reason, the blood on some of the fragments was not wiped away. Yes, there's a line here, drawn in blood. So what you're saying is these dots were once lines. Prosecutor Marshall did not die instantly. He used the few precious moments left to him to leave behind a message. One that someone apparently wiped away. But blood must have seeped into the jar when the lines changed directions. Precisely so. All we need to do is connect these points, and the victim's message will become apparent. No. Mr. Wright, what kind of message did the victim leave for us? Your Honor, I believe these bloodstains will reveal to us the answer. Connect these dots to make letters. Only one thing the victim would have written, given the circumstances. His murderer's name. Okay. Okay, there we go. Where is it? Yeah, this doesn't have any lines there. So that's good. It's the defense attorney's duty to prove their client's innocent. That's why all I've been thinking about is saving Lana. After all my efforts, I never thought it would turn out like this. Emma. So this is the final message Prosecutor Marshall left behind. Of all people. She may not have meant it, but in the end, the one who took the victim's life was Emma Skye. Seaworthy? Can't say I didn't warn you. Fucking Gant. Chief Gant. Do you understand the implications of what you've done? What? What are you talking about? 2 years ago, Joe Dark was sentenced to death. He was convicted because of his final murder. I believe you were the prosecutor in that case, were you not? Ugh. Yes, Worthy. Because of you, an innocent man was sentenced to death. Not only that, but you used forged evidence to ensure his conviction. Ugh. Ugh! Joe Dark really was a serial murderer. That is undeniable. I'm afraid that's not important. Didn't you know? We aren't defenders of justice. What? We are merely keepers of the law. Sentencing a man to death is no light matter. Even if it wasn't any cover-up, or even if there wasn't any cover-up or evidence forgery, ultimately the responsibility falls on the prosecutor in charge. Despite what anyone may say, this fact cannot be denied. What's going on at the prosecutor's office? How could he just stand there like it wasn't his fault? Order, 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 order! The gavel's pounding fell on deaf ears. Unable to settle the crowd, the judge declared a recess. Where is this trial headed? No one knows. I know. Fucking implicating Grant for evidence forgery and the murder of Detective Goodman. February 25th, 12:06. Sorry, Edgeworth. I didn't mean to get you in trouble. Don't worry about it. This is my problem, not yours. Hope I'm not interrupting anything, pals. Gumshoe. Oh. Guess I am. I'll come back later. Wait, Detective Gumshoe, what is it? You got a lot of nerve, pal, making a detective run around all around while on duty. And to top it off, you call me here. I've seen happier people at funerals. I take it Lana's having you run errands again.
Let me tell you this. This is the last time, pal. Here. She asked me to give this to you if there was a break in today's trial.
Evidence law? I was just talking about this the other day. You must know the 2 rules of evidence law. Rule number 1, no evidence shall be shown without the approval of the police department. Is that right, Mr. Wright? Seems so. Should you at least study some evidence law? Really?
Chief Prosecutor also wanted me to give you a message.
A message?
She says, if you're planning to take him on, you're gonna need this book.
Him? I guess I'll need to give this book a thorough read. Evidence law securely slipped in pocket.
Doesn't look like that book will do you any good now, though.
There's something we can declare illegal evidence, then. No evidence shall be shown without the approval of the police department. Unregistered evidence presented must be relevant to the case on trial. Anything Detective Gant provides must be either not approved by the police department or irrelevant to the trial. So do I declare my own evidence irrelevant? Must? Probably.
All that's left now is the Chief Prosecutor's sentence.
That's where you're wrong, Detective.
Huh?
Haven't you figured it out yet? Why am I still sitting in the prosecutor's seat? Despite all the allegations being thrown at me.
Mr. Edgeworth.
The real trial today hasn't begun yet.
What? What else is there left to do? Your credibility has been all ruined by that, with all this forged evidence you were unaware of. Emma Skye found out she unwittingly caused the man's death. And now you're telling me you want to do more? You gotta be kidding me, pal.
You're missing the point, Detective. Lana didn't murder Detective Goodman. She merely stuck a knife into his dead body. That means the real killer is still out there.
What?
And we're going to expose him, no matter what it takes. The case has to hurt too many people. Time to bring it to an end. February 25th, 12:52, District Courtroom number 9. Why are we in lobby number 2? I thought each courtroom had a lobby.
Court will now reconvene for the trial of Miss Lana Skye. Mr. Edgeworth?
Yes, Your Honor.
The Inquiry Committee is planning to impose harsh penalties for your actions.
Thank you for the news, Your Honor.
Yes, well, ahem. Normally this is where the prosecution calls forth a witness. But, this isn't easy to say. You see, there is some concern that you, Mr. Edgeworth, may have,
struck a bargain? You think I may have manipulated that witness?
I didn't say that. It's just, you see, everyone has been talking and...
Very well, Your Honor. I have a solution.
Solution?
That being the case, the prosecution will allow the defense to call forth all further witnesses.
What? There's no precedent for what you're proposing.
Undeniably, this is an unusual arrangement, but a very efficient one. It would prove that I haven't struck any deals with the witnesses.
Well, Mr. Wright, what do you say?
Unbelievable. Edgeworth has found a way to continue the trial. Very well. The defense accepts the prosecution's proposal.
Then it's settled. The, defense may now call forth its next witness.
Mr. Wright? You do realize this is your last chance. If you call the wrong witness, this trial is as good as over. The defense calls... Time's finally come to bring out the real murderer. It's gotta be Gant, right? It's gotta be Gant. The murderer has to be Gant. Gant. Damon Gant. The defense calls Damon Gant to the stand.
Damon Gant? What does he have to do with anything?
As the defendant's partner with 2 years ago, Mr. Gant has first-hand knowledge of the crime. I feel we should hear what he has to say about it. As luck would have it, he should still be in the courthouse. He would also be the least likely to have been manipulated to me by any way. Wouldn't you agree, Your Honor?
True. Alright, bailiff, please escort Mr. Gant to the stand.
Witness, please state your name and occupation. What is this, some kind of practical joke? I was just on my way to lunch. Your name and occupation, sir. Worthy, are you sure you wanted to do this? Your name and occupation. So, you want to play hardball, eh?
Please, Mr. Gant.
Fine. My name is Damon Gant. I'm the acting chief of police. Now then, Chief Gant, I request to hear your testimony. Oh, righto. What's with the grim face? First, let's clear up this SL9 incident. Oh, you mean the time when Lana's sister murdered that prosecutor? Personally, I think it's been made pretty clear already. There's still some things unaccounted for. Oh, like what? Like the role you played in all of this. Son, either way, either you're very brave or very foolish. You are aware, of course, that a police chief has all kinds of weapons at his disposal. Weapons? Sure, take my testimony for example. I don't have to give it if I don't want to. What? Is that true?
I'm afraid so. Chief of Police has the right to refuse to testify.
Of course, such an action carries with it certain risks. Don't worry, I'm not here to hinder your trial. Just remember, if this turns out to be a big waste of time, don't say I didn't warn you.
Very well, the witness may now begin his testimony.
SL9 incident. As I recall, Neil and I were questioning him that day. To make a long story short, we slipped up. That power outage didn't help either. When I went to my office, I found Lana there. Apparently, she had already arranged the crime scene. As you can see, I had nothing to do with the forgery.
Is that when Dark was arrested?
Him? He was already lying on the floor unconscious. When Emma sent Neil flying, it seems Doc bumped his head.
I see. Everything seems pretty clear-cut.
If the police chief has the right to refuse to testify, then I'd better hit him hard and fast. As I recall, a ceremony was held at the police department that day. Yes, that's right. I guess you could say I'm a workaholic. After winning his award, Neil was all fired up too. That's probably what spooked Doc and made him run away like that. Was the defendant, Lana Skye, also present in the room? I don't quite remember. At the very least, she wasn't there when Doc ran for it. So the two of you ran immediately after him, right? That's right, but Doc made it to the elevator first. So Neil and I split up. He went upstairs, and I went downstairs. I guess you could say. He got lucky. What's this about the power outage? Oh, that. The elevator stopped all of a sudden, and I got the shock of my life. Well, probably not as shocked as Neil when that knife went into his heart, though. That's not funny. Could you tell us what you saw? It was a shocking sight. Neil and that serial killer were lying on a heap on the floor, all tangled together. Dark was also lying collapsed on the floor? Yes, apparently he hit his head when he was knocked out. Next to them were those two poor girls, Lana and Emma. Lana was cradling Emma in her arms. Looking back at it now, she must have already known what her sister had done. How can you know that? Because of the victim's body. It had already been moved. So that means... the book is just a one-page evidence law. Unregistered evidence must be presented in a relevant case. The evidence shall be shown without the approval of the police department. Found the body near Lana's desk. That's right. I think you said earlier, it was my suit of armor that really stabbed the prosecutor? Yes. Anyway, as you can see, I had nothing to do with that forgery. Well, I did admit to forging evidence. That can't be the whole truth. We gotta link Gant to that incident. So you're saying the forgery had already taken place by the time you had arrived at your office? That's exactly what I'm saying. I can understand how Lana must have felt. But moving a body and hiding evidence are inexcusable no matter what the circumstances. Is that how it really went down? Staring at the witness won't do you any good, Mr. Wright. If you're going to stare at anything, you're better off staring at the court record. Worthy, worthy. Always the smooth talker. Which piece of evidence ties Gant to the forgery? Lana did admit to forging evidence. That can't be the whole truth. Someone's got to link Gant to the incident. Nothing to do with the forgery. Evidence law. Had to be... Forgery had to be approved by the police. Yeah. Your Honor, what do you think about the witness's statement? I'm not sure I follow. Clearly, contradicts the, I thought... Don't sound very convinced, Mr. Wright. Objection over... Ah, fuck. I had nothing to do with the forgery, but you did. Do I present the piece of cloth? Piece of cloth. Yeah, there it is. Music cuts out. You really had nothing to do with the forgery. Then how do you explain this? What's that? What's that on it? A handprint? Chief Gant, your explanation, please. I don't know, you tell me, son. Huh? My dear Righto. Don't you know the second rule of evidence law? Uh-oh, not this again. Evidence law. Rule 2, unregistered evidence presented must be relevant to the case on trial. Tell me, how is that rag relevant to this trial? It appears the defense was not prepared. I guess it's too early to use this piece of evidence. Please accept my profound apologies, Chief. Would you mind giving the defense another chance? Well, okay, I'll do this just once. But only because you asked, Edgy.
Thank you. I assure you, the defense is terribly sorry. Haha.
Yeah, sorry I didn't nail you. Damn. The evidence list. Actually, I'll save it just in case. Just in case I fuck up again and this isn't it. And it just kills me. You claim you had nothing to do with the forgery. But I'm afraid that this is a claim you cannot back up. Explain yourself. Several pieces of evidence were found in your office. Take this list, for example.
That's the list Emma Skye drew her picture on.
This was discovered in your desk. Not only that, the piece of this jar that was sitting in your office was found inside your safe.
Was found where?
You see, Chief Gant, these articles of evidence uncovered in your office are both concrete proof that you also played a part in the illegal investigation.
Chief Gant, what's the meaning of this?
Oh! He is a defense attorney who may even rival Worthy. So you admit to it then, that you were involved in the forgery. Who, me? What do you mean, you? Me? Why would I have anything to do with that? Well, you were the one who snuck into my office when you found this evidence. Prosecutors aren't the only ones capable of forging evidence, you know. Defense attorneys can do so too. Isn't that right, Righto? However, Detective Gumshoe was present during the investigation. Worthy, my boy. Not even detectives are exempt from the law. Rest assured, Dick will receive his due punishment. What? If Detective Gumshoe's salary drops any further, he'll end up paying to work.
Yes, well, in light of the detective's presence, please give us your testimony regarding these pieces of evidence in your office, and their relation to the forgery that took place at the crime scene.
My. Kids these days no longer know how to put two and two together.
Oh.
Let's see, what was it now? A jar fragment and a list? For all I know, you could have planted them in my office. Anyway, you can't prove when those pieces of evidence were discovered. If they weren't found after Doc was convicted, then they're worthless. There's no reason I'd participate in a forgery. Rearranging the crime scene wouldn't help me out in any way.
Mr. Wright?
Yes, Your Honor.
When investigating the crime scene, should have been more careful to observe protocol.
You do understand that I am the chief of police, right? There will be consequences.
Oh.
Indeed, I believe I will press charges, so you won't make the same mistake again.
My apologies, Chief. Would you mind waiting until tomorrow for that? Today is, well, you know.
All right, Edgy. In return, though?
I know. That place, right?
Huh? What, are these guys telepathic? I'd appreciate it if you'd stop making these ridiculous allegations. Yes, you do have a point. You wouldn't have the guts to do something like that. What? I'll have you know, back in my day, I once broke into a cattle ranch and tipped...
Mr. Wright, what are you saying?
Anyway, you can't prove you didn't carry the evidence, can you? If you have proof to the contrary, you're going to need it later. Later? What are you talking about? What else? I'm talking about when Righto's prints are found. Yes, if they're found inside my safe, they would prove his investigation was illegal. Ugh. If there's anyone as slimy as this guy. What do you mean by that? This is all purely hypothetical, of course. But suppose I did place those items in my safe. Such an act wouldn't necessarily constitute forgery. If concealing evidence found at a crime scene isn't forgery... I'm not through speaking yet, Righto. It all depends on when the evidence was discovered. Are you saying the jar fragment wasn't discovered in the initial investigation? It would appear not. After all, it wasn't listed in the evidence list. For all we know, it could have suddenly materialized the day after Doc was sentenced. Oh, wouldn't that be convenient? Right? The Chief is talking about a possibility, so long as you can't rule that out. The remarks, however clever they may be, will only succeed in wasting time. Tell me something I don't know. Come on, Righto? Think about it. No reason I'd participate in a forgery. can you look me in the eye and say that? Because I'm innocent. Remember? Who was it that murdered Neil?
Not sure I care for the word murder here. But in the end, the person responsible for Mr. Marshall's unfortunate demise was Emma Skye.
Well, now do you see? Really, Chief Gant. At the very least, there's one very large benefit you've been reaping from all this. Oh? I wasn't aware. What is this benefit? That would of course be the position you have. Chief of Police.
Oh.
The resolution of the SL9 incident secured your promotion to Chief. That in itself is a sufficient motive. Ho ho ho! Oh, that's a good one. Huh? Do you really think I'm that incompetent? What do you mean? Even without that case, I was already next in line to become the next chief. The resolution of the SL9 merely sped up the inevitable a little. Is that true, Edgeworth? Yes, he was going to be made chief anyway. Ugh. Be careful when pointing that finger, or you might wind up being the one pointed at. So that means there's only one possible motivation for you to commit forgery. If you didn't do it for yourself, then you did it for someone else. Don't be silly, Worthy. You know me better than that. There are only 3 people I look out for. Me, myself, and I. There. That's out in the open now. Aji, would you mind if I changed my testimony a little?
By all means, please do.
It wouldn't be anyone's accomplice if there was nothing in it for me. Nothing in it for you? Sorry, but the only person I care about is yours truly. That girl, Lana's little sister, was it? If you think I felt sorry for her, you'd better think again. You're right. You don't feel sorry for anyone. Be tough on crime and tough on people. That's how I was raised. You seem to be lax enough on yourself, though. Ho ho ho! That's a good one, Worthy. There been something in it for him. Given his selfishness, he would have helped. Would he help someone out? Quite not accomplice. Sure, you might not help out anyone for their sake. But if it would benefit you, you might decide to assist someone.
Mr. Wright, it appears you're positively determined to portray the chief as a nice man who likes to lend people a hand.
That's not what I meant. Excuse you, go fuck yourself.
Very well then. Who's this person you believe Chief Gant may have helped forge evidence?
What do you mean, who? It's clearly Lana. Like, Lana wanted to cover up murder. And Chief Gant... What?
Chief Prosecutor Lana Skye? The defendant?
I believe it's quite obvious in the light of the circumstances. Emma Skye fell victim to an unfortunate series of events. Who would want to help her more than her own sister, Lana? And as for the Chief Gant, he would also have a reason to help Lana if she asked him to. That reason, of course, is self-profit.
Self-profit? What do you mean?
After the SL9 incident was resolved, Lana Skye was appointed Chief Prosecutor of the Prosecutor's Office. The person who arranged this job change was you, Chief Gant.
But how would he profit from all of this?
He would be able to use the Chief Prosecutor as his puppet. Essentially, he would acquire unchecked authority over all investigations.
You mean to tell me that despite the Chief's formidable appearance, he plays with puppets? Oh, wait. You must mean puppet, as in someone forced to do his bidding. Never mind.
Admit it, Chief. You assisted Lana Skye in forging evidence. Your motive? To appoint her as chief prosecutor so you could control her. Righto, my boy. You have quite an imagination. Let me ask you something. What? Do you have any proof of this, that I controlled Lana? For example, is Lana testifying that I have done such a thing? Lana, keeping quiet to protect Emma. There's no way she'd testify against Gant.
I'm afraid without any proof of all this amounts to is nothing more than mere conjecture.
Unless... That is also what happened in this incident.
This incident? Which one would that be?
Of course I'm talking about. The murder of Detective Bruce Goodman. The chief prosecutor has been acting strange throughout this entire trial. Almost as if someone has been controlling her. Worthy, you'd better watch your tongue. I wouldn't want you to get hurt.
So what do you mean?
What he means, Your Honor, is that Chief Gant is involved in the murder of Detective Goodman. Not only that, but the chief is now making Lana take the rap to cover up his involvement.
What?
Man, I hope we get some different judges in the next game. Funny as he is, and as, like, a good audience surrogate as he is, like, I kind of want to see someone a little more confident.
I said order! Mr. Wright, you can't be serious.
Huh?
This is an affront to the highest ranking officer in our law enforcement agency. To accuse the chief of police of blackmail and murder. That's impossible.
Your Honor, I was merely reiterating what Mr. Edgeworth said in an easier to understand language. It's too late, Mr. Wright. There's no turning back for us now. Looks like he's the one who decided to go through with this.
Can you prove this, Mr. Wright? The chief, a high-ranking officer of the law, is involved in this murder?
Good question. Regardless of his rank or title, Chief Gant is just a man. The question is he really a criminal? I believe the evidence will tell.
I see. Alright then. Let's see what Mr. Wright's got. And it better be good. Show us this evidence that ties Chief Gant to the murder of Detective Goodman.
It's gotta be the ID card reader.
This is the ID card list.
Yes, the one that shows who entered the evidence room on the day of the crime. There was one ID on the list we couldn't determine, the owner of yesterday. 777-7777. Sorry, but there's no way you can prove that's my ID. That's my card number. It's your number.
What? How do you know that?
The safe in Chief Gant's office requires a code to open. A 7-digit code.
7 digits? You don't mean...
I'm afraid so, Your Honor. The code was 7777777. Same as the remaining ID card number on that list. Chief Gant, you entered the evidence room on the day of the crime.
Ho, we got him. Order! Chief Gant, what do you have to say?
Nothing. The defense's search of my office was in violation of regulations. And I will demand Mr. Wright be punished to the maximum extent of the law. But right now, this court demands an explanation from you about the use of this ID card.
Chief Gant, so you admit it. You entered the evidence room on the day of the crime?
What about it? I'm chief of police. Whether it's the evidence room or the bathroom. What's the difference? I can go anywhere I want. Tell me, when you entered the room, were you alone? I always go to the bathroom alone, as I do with the evidence room. Detective Goodman wouldn't have happened to be with you at that day, would he?
Of course not. Why would he be? I hadn't seen him in days.
You hadn't seen him in days? Chief Gant, I'm afraid you've just undone yourself. On that day, you had to have met with Detective Goodman.
What do you mean? This trial's purpose is to determine Lana Sky's guilt.
No, it isn't, Your Honor. This trial's purpose is to determine the truth. If Chief Gant met with the victim on the day of the crime, then we need to determine one thing. What transpired during that meeting?
In that case, Mr. Wright, I'm going to have to ask you for evidence. Show us proof that the victim went to meet Chief Gant on the day of the crime.
Do I have proof? Proof that the victim went to meet Chief Gant on the day of the crime. Oh, it is this. Lost item report. Detective Goodman lost his ID card on the day of the crime. Or to be more accurate, Jake Marshall stole it. So Detective Goodman filled out a lost item report. We would have had to give that report to the Chief of Police. Yet you are in possession of that report, which means you can't be sure he filled it out. He filled it. He filed it. How do I know, you ask? Because he needed to enter the evidence room that day.
He needed to.
Yes, to transfer the evidence out.
Oh.
Detective Goodman took the form to you, Chief Gant. Then, you accompanied the detective to the evidence room.
I accompanied him?
There's no other way the murderer and Detective Goodman could have entered that room. Hold on. Let me guess what you're going to say next. I, the Chief of Police, murdered poor Goodman. Exactly.
Wait. The Chief didn't necessarily need to accompany him to the evidence room. He could have just lent him his ID card.
Yes. Now that you mention it, I believe I might have done something of that sort. Sorry, but that's not possible. According to the record, your card was only used once. Yet you showed us your ID card earlier. If you had really lent it to Detective Goodman, it would have been found on his body.
No! Chief Gant, you didn't.
Oh, that's funny. Lightning. That's really funny. The murder was most likely in the spur of the moment, for no one in their right mind would choose the police department as a place to commit murder. After the murder, you contacted Lana at the prosecutor's office. Why? To dispose of Detective Goodman's body, of course. You're forgetting, Mr. Wright, that the victim's body was discovered in the prosecutor's office parking lot. How did he manage to move it there? I was in the police department the entire day, you know? And everyone's aware that Lana stayed at the prosecutor's office after the ceremony. Everyone except me, it seems. Still, you're the chief of police. You have an entire police force at your disposal. Oh, so you think I just ordered an officer to do it? Hey you, take this here dead body over to the prosecutor's office. I don't think so. Chief Gant, we left all the evidence we need. Prove how you move the body to the prosecutor's office. All this time, I thought it was useless clue, just taking up space.
How could the chief have moved the body? Mr. Wright, show us this evidence.
To move the victim's body, Chief Gant used this. Screwdriver. This is how he moved Detective Goodman's body.
What's that? Screwdriver? What does that have to do with this case?
Mr. Edgeworth, think back to the day of the crime. What is this screwdriver doing here? It's here because...
Ah!
I was asked to go. By Chief Gant, no less. He told me he wanted to keep it in Ooh. He told me he wanted me to keep it here in the prosecutor's office. In any case, on the day of the stabbings, I brought this back here. After the ceremony ended that day, I didn't plan to return to the prosecutor's office. But you did, because Chief Gant asked you to. You mean I... The body was found in the trunk of Mr. Edgeworth's car. I think it's obvious what happened. The body was moved by that car.
Detective Goodman's body was carried in the trunk of Mr.
What? This was established day one, wasn't it? What the fuck? Game. Yes. Unless, of course, you have another explanation, Chief. Why else would you have asked Mr. Edgeworth to transport evidence from closed cases? There's only one plausible explanation. To transport the body to your accomplice, Miss Lana Skye.
Order! 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 What's going on here? Is there no room for rebuttal to the defense's outrageous accusations?
Think back to the photograph Miss Starr took at the prosecutor's office. This was not the photo of the body being stuffed into the trunk to be taken away. This was exactly the opposite. It is a photo of the body being taken from the trunk.
Chief Gant, please say something.
I believe... your time's up.
My time's up.
Sorry, Righto, but I'm having lunch at the District Attorney General after this. You have to get going if we're going to make it in time for the early bird special. But the cross-examination isn't finished yet. Remember what I told you earlier? A police chief has all kinds of weapons at his disposal. Weapons? Like the right to refuse to testify. I'm invoking that right now.
What? This is not a right to be casually invoked. There are certain risks to be considered.
So you're going to just run away after all this? Run away? Don't make me laugh, Worthy. I stabbed old Goodman. That's what you're saying, right? But if you had any conclusive evidence, you would have presented it by now. Well, You think I had Lana dispose of the body? If so, then show your proof and get it over with.
I'll say it again, Mr. Wright. Damon Gant is the current chief of police. This court will not tolerate any accusations against him without concrete proof. Well, Mr. Wright?
Your Honor?
Do you have any concrete proof? Proof that Chief Gant murdered Detective Goodman and made Miss Skye dispose of his body.
Do they have any concrete proof? I have no proof yet. Though you're showing evidence I'm not even sure of myself. No, Your Honor, at present, I have no conclusive evidence. CEIG?
In that case, this court is forced to penalize you for your allegations against the chief.
What? Here's a tip. Never gamble when you can't afford to lose, righto? It seems that Lady Luck was on my side again today. Okay, IG, I'll leave the rest to you. I don't think I had evidence, right?
I warned you earlier, Mr. Wright. This is an affront to the senior officer of our nation's law enforcement agency.
What? Lady Luck, Maybe we should have a word with her.
Mr. Edgeworth, what do you mean?
There's one lady who knows the real truth behind this trial. We haven't yet had the honor of hearing her testimony. Lady who knows the truth. Another witness? In the absence of conclusive evidence, the only other method of proof is testimony. Chief Gant has invoked his right to refuse to testify. There's still someone else. One more witness who can answer all the questions raised in this trial. Someone right in this very room. Oh yeah, we haven't heard Lana yet, have we?
Mr. Edgeworth, who is this person?
Why are you asking me, Your Honor? Have you forgotten? The defense is the one calling witnesses today.
Mr. Wright,
such a witness exist? She may not be willing to tell the truth. We can't just stop now. Yes, Your Honor. The defense calls forth...
The defendant, Miss Lana Skye?
She was in the underground parking lot at 5:15 on February 21st. Her task to dispose of the victim's body, in accordance with a certain someone's orders.
Mr. Edgeworth.
The prosecution has no objections, Your Honor.
Very well. The court will now take its final recess for the day. In 15 minutes, we will reconvene to hear the defendant's testimony. This court is now in Hold on.
Huh?
Chief Gant, I thought you were going to eat.
Listen good, Lana. Talking to Lana. I don't think you need me to tell you this, but if you accept Mr. Wright's claims, there will be terrible consequences. That's right. Your sister will be found guilty for Neil Marshall's murder. Ah, that isn't good. Of course, you'd never support such outrageous claims anyway, right? Just something to think about. Alright then. I've got a lunch date to meet.
Okay. If there aren't any further objections, this court is now in recess.
Alright, so we gotta find some way to pry the truth out of Lana. February 25th, 2:04 p.m., District Court, Defendant Lobby Number 2. Looks like we managed to stay in the game. Yeah, thanks to your help, Edgeworth.
That chief, he's something else, eh, pals?
Detective Gumshoe!
I'm not a detective anymore.
Oh yeah, sorry about that.
Don't worry. I've already decided where I'll work now. At your office.
My office?
Sure. I'll take that place of that top-knotted girl you used to work with.
What do you mean? Maya? No way! That's rad! Hell yeah, let's hang out with Gumshoe. How is that? Yeah. It's very clearly blackmail in the court record. Like, unbelievably so. This game is dumb, but it's really fun.
Still, looks like we're all out of moves now. Chief Gant's done it again. How does he always get the upper hand?
Not fair, he has the right to refuse to testify. Settle down, right? Remember what the judge said?
It's not a right to be casually invoked. There are certain risks to be considered.
Risks? What do you mean by that? It's simple. If the chief refuses to testify, the opposite also holds true. I mean, he forfeits the right to say anything too. Oh, Emma. You okay? Yeah, when I came to, I was in the medical office. I've been listening to the trial from the galley. From the gallery. As you heard everything that's been going on. Emma, I'm sorry for what I said before. No, don't be. It was the truth. You know, it's funny. I almost feel somehow relieved. Yeah, I'm a murderer, so what? Relieved? Yeah. I finally know what really happened. I think that all this time, my sister was being blackmailed by that terrible man. And she did it all just to protect me. Ever since her appointment as chief... Well, fuck. Ever since her appointment as chief prosecutor, everyone who knew her said she changed. Perhaps it was easier that way for her.
What do you mean?
What do you think I mean? To follow Chief Gant's orders. She must have shut herself up deep inside, and forced herself to do anything and everything the chief told her to do. Must be why she became so cold. It was all my fault. All because I murdered Mr. Marshall. This music doesn't fit this conversation.
Hey, don't go blaming yourself now. You want to blame anyone, blame society, pal.
Chief Gant may be able to fool everyone else with his forgery. But he can't fool my memory. I remember now. I knocked Mr. Marshall into that armor. I see.
Well, we better get back. It's time for the final act.
Emma, why don't you wait here? No. I'm going with you. I want to be there. When Lana tells the truth. Let's go, right? It's time to end this. Here we go! It's time to end this. We've reached the thrilling conclusion. Trial 5. In the original Ace Attorney game released in the West. February 25th. 12:21 p.m. District Court, Courtroom Number 9. Now then. Will the defendant, Miss Lana Skye, please take the stand? Miss Lana Skye, you are the Chief Prosecutor. I'm sure you're aware of what is required of you. But Mr. Edgeworth, you already know everything. You know all that I've done these past 2 years. Please provide the court with your testimony, Miss Skye. And remember, you are under oath. We want to hear the truth. Of course. Truth. Lana, no matter what happens, I'll always be your sister. Ah, fuck. Lana's gonna get away Lana's gonna get fucking put away for perjury. On top of, you know, accomplice the murder. Now then, your testimony, if you will. First, tell us about your relationship with Chief Gant. Everything hinges on your testimony. You're the only chance we have to get Gant. Gant and the fabrication. I worked alongside Gant for years. There's no truth to this blackmail theory. I fabricated the evidence 2 years ago all by myself. When I found Prosecutor Marshall's body, I rearranged the crime scene. My only motive was to get Dark convicted. It had nothing to do with Emma. Are you sure about this testimony? Your Honor, I'm confessing to a capital offense. Of course I'm sure. But Lana... This is true. That means Chief Gant has nothing to do with this. That's what I've been telling you from the beginning. Please, Mr. Wright. You gotta help her. She's sacrificing herself because of me. What if she's telling the truth? She's not. I know my own sister. I said it as it was being typed. That was just my gut. That was just my reaction. When she speaks stiffly like that, she's hiding something inside. Deep down, she's really screaming in agony. Yeah, this is no time to start second-guessing myself. The defense may now begin its cross-examination. I think I can immediately call her on the last one. How many years exactly? Ever since I made senior detective. Let's see, I was 24 then, so that would be 5 years. Detective Gant and Detective Skye were legendary partners. I personally saw them testify in a number of cases. Must have been good coming from the same school as Mia. Damon Gant was a respectable detective, that's why. But think about it, Miss Skye. You didn't murder Detective Goodman. You told me as much in jail yesterday. Still don't get it, do you, Mr. Wright? Any testimony you cannot present in court is as useless as idle gossip. I stabbed Detective Goodman with a knife. And fabricated the evidence 2 years ago all by myself. Did you do so to help your sister? Joe Dark was a serial killer. My sister almost became his last victim that day. I didn't want that incident to ruin her life. But what she did was justifiable self-defense. She wouldn't have been charged with anything. That's not the point. She was traumatized that day all because of that creep. That's why I couldn't forgive him. Lana.
So that's why you fabricated the evidence 2 years ago.
Rearranged the crime scene. You say you did this all by yourself? Yes. Would you mind telling us what you found when you arrived at the crime scene? Seems I was the first person to discover the scene. Broken Prosecutor Award. The broken Prosecutor Award knife was stuck in the victim's body. What? Prosecutor Marshall died from an unfortunate accident. only a situation you deemed was possible. The reality is, it wasn't my sister who took that prosecutor's life. Fantasizing all you want, Mr. Wright, but I'll never change this statement. You mean, Prosecutor Marshall wound up being killed by Dark? Something like that. If that is so, what happened to the other murder weapon? Doc was carrying a switchblade knife. Oh. That was lying on the floor a little distance away. It was probably knocked away in the struggle. Not how it went down. Trying to cover up her lies with more lies. All just to protect me.
When you found the scene like this, what did you do? After all, this is what everything boils down to.
Yes. Broke off the tip of Dark's knife, planted it inside the wound, then moved the body. You planted the tip of Dark's knife in the victim's wound,
And then you moved the body.
but why? Why did you do that? You of all people should know, Edgeworth. You've always had a good head on your shoulders. My head isn't that bad. Maybe I ought to ask for the sake of the others. Why did you move the body? Why did you plant the knife? Why did you move the body? From Gant's side to your side. Why did you plant the knife? Why did you plant the knife? Why did you do that? Come now, Mr. Wright. Even you should be able to figure it out.
Very well, let's add this to the witness's testimony. The reason Miss Skye fabricated the knife.
Maybe the tip of the weapon found buried in his body would be all the proof we needed. See if I can ask the other question. Why did you move the body? When you showed up on the scene, where exactly was the victim's body? It was where you deduced it was, by Chief Gant's desk. The body was found by your desk. Why did you move it there? The reason for that is simple.
Let's have the witness explain this in more detail. The reason Miss Skye moved the body.
Piece of the jar that shattered during the events threatened my plan. Oh, so that changes it. Pieces of the jar, you mean? Yes, that wretched jar you showed us earlier. In order to show that Dark committed the crime, I felt it would become more expedient to move the body. So, when you first found the body, the jar was already... Of course it had been shattered to pieces. If you look at the crime scene, it would be clear right away what happened. Neil Marshall was dead, and Dark was lying unconscious. In other words, the jar must have broken during the struggle.
I see.
What's the matter, Emma? Apparently, the jar shattered at the time the crime was committed. I have a feeling there's more to it than that. Must be a contradiction here somewhere. Anyway, I committed this fabrication completely alone. I want to press the other ones, then. Sure you didn't keep Emma from looking like a murderer? Times I have to tell you, Mr. Wright, Emma didn't do it. Period. You desperate to hide that fact? Willing to risk the death sentence? It's lying. You did so I wouldn't be blamed for what happened. In any case, as a prosecutor, what I've done is unpardonable. There's nothing I can do to make up for my actions. Mr. Wright, my sister's lying. Looks like she's determined to protect you to the end. She insists she fabricated the evidence by herself. There's no way she could have done it all alone. Gotta get Lana to talk more. Threaten my plan. Let's try switching that, see if anything comes of it. Why did you plant the knife? Tip of the weapon found buried in his body would all be all the proof we needed. according to your testimony, Prosecutor Marshall's broken knife was the murder weapon, right? Yes, and leaving it at that might point the blame away from Dark. But the most effective way to get him convicted would be by having the tip of his knife found inside the victim's body.
So you buried it inside the victim's stab wound?
Yes. Because I hated Dark for what he did. I think we need the jar testimony. And then, what do we present on the jar testimony? A piece of the jar would threaten your plan. Yeah, let's reset the jar testimony. Why did you move his body? Piece of the jar that shattered during the events threatened my plan. This guy, I understand how you feel. You committed that crime 2 years ago to protect your sister.
You mean the forgery at the scene where Neil Marshall was murdered?
If that truth were to be exposed now, the past 2 years of your life will have been in vain. Even so, I am compelled to bring to everyone's attention a significant contradiction within your testimony. Contradiction in my testimony? You testified, and I quote, "The pieces of the jar that shattered during the events threatened my plan." That's right.
You have a problem with that?
It's a simple oversight, really. You see, a message was written on this jar with the victim's blood. Yes, the prosecutor must have written it in his final moments. Exactly so. And this is where the contradiction lies. In order for the victim to be able to write his message on the jar, it must not yet have been broken before he died. Ah. He couldn't have written Emma's name on a shattered jar. Order! Order! Your Honor, it would appear more information is needed in regard to this jar and its bloody message. You may be missing something critical here. Something critical. Chief Prosecutor, it seems you're as in the dark as we are about the truth towards which we are headed. What? Just tell us exactly what you saw. We'll piece together the information to arrive at the truth.
Very well. The witness may now continue her testimony.
Jar and message in blood. I immediately noticed the blood traces on the jar. But it was dark in the room and I didn't have time to check it out. To be safe, I wiped away the blood. The fragments were large, I'm sure I got all of them. All I could think about was wiping them clean before they were discovered. But Gant had one without... What?
You mean you're the one who wiped away the message in blood?
I wasn't chief prosecutor at the time. She didn't think Dark was the real murderer. That's why she tried to erase the real evidence.
Very well. The defense may now begin its cross-examination.
Yeah, that... There's a chunk of it without... So the jar was already broken. It's a miracle that thing hadn't broken earlier.
Certainly looks as feasible as the defense's case.
Not as feeble as the judge's oh fuck, feeble. Not as feeble as the judge's judgment. You're an ace detective who never missed a detail. You really expect us to believe you didn't investigate what was written on the jar pieces? Normally I would have. It was dark in the room and I didn't have time to check it out. So you didn't know your sister's name was written on the jar? No. If I had known, I would have gathered all the pieces and ground them into dust. Well, that helps my case. Lana, you do that for me. It seems you two might make up yet. Anyway, I just barely had enough time to move the body as it was. If someone happened upon the scene, you'd lose your chance to erase the evidence. You must have been in a hurry. I was. I knew I had to destroy the evidence before anyone came. This is rather shocking. I'm afraid this action of yours reveals what really happened.
What do you mean?
If you really thought Dark killed Prosecutor Marshall, you wouldn't have wiped away the blood. What else could I have done in that situation? Lana, I only had a few moments. There wasn't enough time for me to do anything else but gather up the pieces. How could you see with the power out? It should have been pitch black in that office. A detective is always prepared, Mr. Wright. Even now, I always carry a pocket light and a camera with me. Even I carry a bottle of emergency luminol wherever I go. I never miss anything. I got every last piece. So you illegally rearranged the crime scene? Yes. I don't have any excuses for my actions. I'm so sorry, Lana. I didn't know. I treated you so badly all this time. It's not too late. There's still plenty of time to make up. I mean, you're probably gonna go to jail for forging evidence, but after we've gotten to the bottom of this incident.
No doubt this day will leave a permanent stain on the history of the prosecutor's office.
More contradictions have surfaced in her testimony. Sister really is putting up a fight. She must really care about you. Still, she's not doing this right away. Not doing this the right way. I think you finally figured out the contradiction in her testimony. There's one final possibility that might turn everything around. Miss Skye, I believe this jar conceals a truth even you were unaware of. What? We found the final piece of this jar in Chief Gant's safe. In the Chief's safe? But how? I knew it. She really didn't know. There's something even more disturbing about that final piece. There was still blood on it.
What? The witness just testified that she'd gathered every single last piece and wiped the blood off of them.
Yes. Which leaves us with only one explanation. On the night Prosecutor Marshall was murdered, you were not the first one to show up on the scene. Chief Gant got there before you did.
But couldn't the defendant simply have missed the piece?
I'm afraid that's unlikely. The pieces are too big for anyone to miss, let alone an ace detective.
That may well be, but everyone makes mistakes. Even I once wasted an entire day looking for my dentures. They were in my mouth all along. Ha! Can you believe that?
Have you forgotten, Your Honor? When this witness arrived at the scene, the jaw was already broken.
Oh, that.
There's no way a name could have been written on a shattered jaw. Another person discovered the scene prior to the witness.
Hope you're not implying this person was Chief Gant. At the time, he was looking for Dark downstairs. Besides, even if he was there first, why would he break the jar?
The question is, if he did arrive there first, why did he hide the fact for 2 years? Well, Your Honor, can you answer us that?
No. Wait. I'm not the one on trial here.
Damon Gant arrived at the scene prior to the witness. Proceeded to break the jaw and purposely hide one of the broken pieces. Question. What is this action called? Fabrication of evidence.
Why would Chief Gant do that?
In light of what happened afterwards, isn't it clear?
What happened afterwards?
Discovering the scene, Lana Skye believed her sister, Emma, had killed the victim. Determined to help her sister, she sought Gant's aid. Lending her his aid, Gant helped her create evidence that incriminated Dark, sparing Emma, and therein lies the reason. The reason why Miss Sky became the chief's puppet. Oh, fuck! No, I did it on my own. Are you okay? Was that your hand, or did you bite your thumb off? Please, sis, stop trying to protect the chief. I can't watch you suffer anymore for my sake. No, you didn't. It wasn't you, Emma. You didn't kill anyone. Don't believe anything Mr. Wright says. Defense attorneys make up the most foul lies to defend their clients. Foul lies? Imagine that coming from my own client. I guess you do seem the type who likes to twist the truth. Gee, thanks, Judge. Wait a minute. What if... we're still smack dab in the middle of Gant's trap? Something wrong, Mr. Wright. Lana may be right after all. What do you mean, right? So you do tell foul lies then, Mr. Wright? Miss Sky, please testify once more. But if evidence was fabricated behind your back, then Emma's accidental killing of Prosecutor Marshall might also be a lie. But I do remember knocking over Mr. Marshall. Miss Sky, if you will. I can't. There's nothing to be afraid of anymore. This cross-examination may not change a thing. However, there is a possibility that it will, if you tell the truth. Very well. I'll testify about what I really saw. Alright, the witness may testify once more for the final time. Truth. Here we are. We've come to it. When I arrived, I found Mr. Marshall's body impaled on the suit of armor's sword. Emma and Dark were lying unconscious on the floor nearby. When I saw what had happened, I thought she did it. That's why I erased all evidence that linked her to the murder. I had Chief Gant help me remove the body from the sword and carry it. But if it all really was a fabrication, Emma might be innocent. Unbelievable. Body was impaled on the armor sword? You were the only one who saw that. If only you had proof. Actually, I do have proof. I gave it to Mr. Wright just this morning. What? To me? It's a picture I took at the crime scene as I encountered it. I thought it might be needed. I don't remember receiving a picture like... Oh, Nick, you're a moron. Lana must have known. See, Mr. Wright? She really does have faith in you. Very well, Mr. Wright. Please present this picture. I don't remember receiving any pictures from Lana. Lana said she gave you this morning, right? I don't remember getting something from her then. Let's check that evidence again. Must be a picture in there somewhere. What do I do? Oh, there it is. Hey, there's a picture in here. Oh. Oh my. This is the actual crime scene. How is it not suspicious? The big fuck-off hole in his jacket. No other detective saw this crime scene like this. So I contacted Criminal Affairs only after I rearranged everything. Mr. Wright, that piece cut out from his vest. Could that be cloth we found inside Chief Gant's safe? What's this? It had Emma's handprint on it. That cloth, it had fingerprints on it. Whoever fingerprints those are, must be the real murderer. What? Those fingerprints They're yours, Emma. Why are your lips turning all purple, Mr. Wright? Anyway, let's get on with the cross-examination. As long as you tell the truth, you should be able to flesh out the real murderer.
Very well. The defense may now begin its cross-examination.
So, am I gonna just have to re-incriminate Emma? What? Oh, what the fuck? Gant! Come now, Archie. This is the poorest excuse for a trial I've ever seen.
Chief Gant!
What? Now you want to make me out as the bad guy, too? If so, I'd like to put a word or two in my defense. I'm afraid it's too late for that. What? You already declined to testify. That means you forfeited your right to make any statements of any sort. Must be that risk we were talking about earlier. Just sit back and relax. And enjoy the sound of the noose tightening around your own neck. Ugh. Ah! Ah, so what? You think I'm worried? Sorry to disappoint you. But I don't need to make any statements. What do you mean? The evidence will do all the talking for me. Even if I can't testify, I can still present evidence.
Yes, that's true. Wait, you mean you still have some conclusive evidence?
No, I don't. But someone does.
Someone.
So, what's your excuse, righto? Why have you been keeping quiet about it? You do have something to show us, right? Something that proves who knocked over Neil Marshall, causing his death. Conclusive evidence that leaves no room for doubt.
Is this true, Mr. Wright?
Let's show the piece of evidence now. Save the game, just in case it fucks me. Emma's sure to be made out as a murderer.
Mr. Wright, if you have any more evidence, present it now. If you try to conceal anything, you will be the one appearing before the Board of Inquiries.
What do I do now? I think this through carefully. Can't afford making the wrong decision. Should I present that piece of evidence? One that shows who really killed Prosecutor Marshall? I cannot show evidence. Do I show evidence and then just show the book? I guess I cannot show evidence. Your Honor, I don't have any evidence I can present at this point in time. What? You lie!
Chief Gant?
You opened my safe. I know you took what was inside. The conclusive evidence. I don't know what you're talking about. Mr. Wright, why don't you show them? We found it together. Oh, I see. It's because you know the truth, don't you? You know whose fingerprints are on it. That's why you won't present it. What are you talking about, Chief Gant? Can't you figure it out? Take a good look at this picture. See the victim's vest? Notice anything odd about the chest area?
Looks like part of it's been cut out for some reason.
You mean you had this in your safe?
What? That means you, the Chief of Police, have been concealing evidence. This is going to be the biggest scandal in the history of the police department.
Impressive. To be honest, I didn't think you had the gall, righto? Well, I can't just let you pin me up as the murderer. I'll tell you what really happened.
What? You mean, you admit it?
I was the first person to arrive at the crime scene that day. It then occurred to me that I could use the situation to control Lana. So you really were manipulating her. I knew Lana, if I had made it look like the blame lay with her sister, that when she saw the scene, she would ask me for my aid. So you assisted Miss Skye. I told her to arrange all the evidence. had her plant the knife tip in the victim's body and move the body across the room. And I ended up using that evidence to get Joe Dock convicted. When I tampered with the crime scene, I hid 2 pieces of evidence. This was before Lana arrived at the scene, mind you. 2 pieces of evidence? You mean those items in your safe?
But why?
For insurance. Of course. Insurance. I was sure my plan would work, but it's always best to be prepared for the worst. I wasn't about to let anyone blame me for a murder that girl committed.
You mean you were calculating that far ahead while forging the evidence?
What do you take me for, a fool? I didn't make police chief by dumb luck. See this jaw fragment? Hid the most legible part for Emma's name. I didn't expect Lana to go and wipe the blood off all the pieces. If you fabricated all the evidence, what's to say you didn't fabricate the message on the jaw too? Ho ho ho. Some people just don't know when to quit, do they? That's why I kept one more item for insurance. You mean that piece of cloth? Come on, Righto, cough it up already. I know you have it. What are you waiting for, Mr. Wright? So you admit to it then, Chief Gant? That you were hiding the cloth you cut off from the victim's vest in your safe? Yes, I admit it. I didn't want to have to do that, but being chief and all. But it's a lot better than being portrayed as a murderer.
Well, Mr. Wright, what do you have to say for yourself? Just a moment ago you said you didn't have any evidence you could present.
Foolish move, Righto. You should have shown it then before it was too late. It's been a long battle. But the moment of truth has finally arrived. As long as I don't mess up here, victory is mine. Show evidence. Your Honor, I do have evidence to present now.
Alright then, let's see this conclusive evidence. Evidence that shows who actually murdered Prosecutor Marshall. Mr. Edgeworth, your opinion, please.
I think Mr. Wright's humor has improved, at the expense of his defense. Ah, did I fuck this up? Alright, now let's try this one more time. Fuck, I think I've locked myself into a game over here. I don't think I could actually do this. I guess I have to now. Piece of cloth. Let me verify this once more. On the day of the crime, you personally cut out this piece of the victim's vest. Oh yes, at last you finally brought it out into the open.
There's a handprint on this piece of cloth.
Your Honor, prosecution requests that be immediately sent to the lab for analysis. This handprint on the leather. It must have been a strong impact for it to be left so clearly.
You mean?
Could not have been forged. It must be authentic, conclusive evidence. Ho ho ho. You're as slow on the uptake as ever, Worthy. What? Think about it. Righto had all this time to present this evidence? And he was reluctant to do so. Why would that be? You mean you already know? You know whose fingerprints are on that? Mr. Wright? Do you really know?
Whoever the fingerprints belong to must be the real murderer. Whose fingerprints are they?
Very well. I'll tell you. You'd be okay now. Everything's proceeding as predicted. The person to whom these fingerprints belong to is... Emma Skye.
Emma Skye!
What? They're mine? I'm sorry, Emma. But why? Why didn't you tell me? I don't know, because it makes you out to be a murderer? That's fucked up? Oh ho ho ho! You're really something, Righto. You knew this girl did it all along. And you still tried to pin the murder on me.
So it's true. Tragic, but true. This girl really did shove Prosecutor Marshall to his death.
Hold it. How could you? You monster!
Miss Skye?
You knew whose fingerprints those were all along, yet you acted like she really didn't. Miss Skye, it's not over yet. What? I said this trial isn't over yet. Ha! I'm afraid it's over, boy. Not only this trial, but your career too. You purposely concealed this conclusive evidence. That, my friend, is a serious offense. I'm looking forward to pressing charges after the defendant is convicted. I'll have your badge, boy! What's the matter? Cat got your tongue? Aren't you going to tell us how it feels? How it feels to be the one who single-handedly turned a poor little girl into a murderer. Before I do that, there's just one little thing I have to clear up. Oh? And what's that? Who really killed Prosecutor Neil Marshall?
What?
Chief Gant, you are absolutely right. This piece of cloth proves who the real murderer is. Who killed Neil Marshall, you ask?
It was Emma Skye, wasn't it?
I'm afraid that's not possible. You see, this piece of cloth contains a critical contradiction.
What?
A contradiction? What is this fool blathering about? I'm talking about a contradiction. One that proves who the real killer is.
Right, this piece of cloth. What could it possibly contradict?
Chief Gant, your tyrannical reign ends here. Behold, the piece of evidence that contradicts this cloth. Yeah, it's Lana's picture. Look. There's blood under the vest and over it. There's blood in the hole. Present. And what exactly is this supposed to be? This is the picture Miss Skye took. Take a good look at it. See where the piece of his vest was cut out?
Yes. His shirt is showing underneath. Hard to make out with all the blood on his vest, though.
Exactly my point. His chest is soaked with blood. That's only natural. His lungs were no doubt punctured. Blood poured out of his mouth.
Oh. But that piece of cloth. Wait. There's no blood on it. Ah!
Since Emma Skye's fingerprints are on this cloth, there's no doubt that she shoved the prosecutor aside. However, Mr. Marshall was not impaled on the sword at the time. No, this is nonsense! Now then, Chief Gant, let me ask you something. Prosecutor Marshall was not impaled when he was shoved aside. He most likely hit his head on the ground and was knocked out. If so, then tell me, who could it have been? Who could have arrived at the scene before Miss Lana Skye? Picked up the unconscious prosecutor and impaled him on the armor's sword. Ah! Then, to make it look like Emma was responsible for the prosecutor's death, said person proceeded to write her name on the jar with the victim's blood. A jar that they then broke on purpose to leave behind a clue. And make Lana believe her sister did it. Remember what you admitted, only moments ago? That you personally cut out this bloodless piece of the victim's vest. Ironic, isn't it? Through the very act of creating insurance, you prove that you were the actual murderer. No! No! It's finally over. Objection. His hair is... Oh, that was close right now. You almost had me. Sorry, but you'll have to do better than that. I refute your allegations.
What do you mean you refute his allegations?
You see, that piece of cloth is illegal evidence.
Order! Order! What nonsense is this?
Illegal evidence cannot be used to convict a suspect. Remember, Aji? Early old Raito here concealed that piece of cloth. So then what's your excuse, Raito? You do have some conclusive evidence, don't you? Your Honor, I don't have any evidence that I can present at this point in time.
Well, that's true. Defense did refuse to present evidence.
At that moment, that piece of cloth ceased to be legal evidence. That's not fair. Ho 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 ho! Did you actually think you could best me in court? Looks like the last laugh's on you, son.
I'm afraid Mr. Gant's claim is legally correct. Well, Mr. Edgeworth?
True. Illegal evidence cannot be used to convict a person. Assuming, of course, that the evidence is indeed illegal.
Well, Mr. Wright?
It seems at last, the time for me to reveal my plan has finally arrived.
Mr. Wright, do you admit to it? You purposely and illegally concealed this piece of cloth.
I did not. It was not relevant at the time. I admit I refused to present it at one point. Aha! So the evidence is illegal. No, it isn't, Mr. Gant. Huh? It's not that I didn't present the evidence then. It's that I couldn't.
What do you mean you couldn't?
There are certain procedures involved when presenting evidence. Because it wasn't recognized. Aha! And then afterwards, he forced Gant to admit what it was. No, Aji, don't listen to this lies. He's nothing but a coward. You can't really believe. There's only one issue left to be resolved in this trial. Is this evidence legal or not?
Very well, let us settle this once and for all. Earlier you refused to present evidence. If you can prove your conduct was not in violation of the law, then do so now.
It was in violation of the first evidence law. This is my proof, Your Honor. Evidence law. What's this? I've done my homework too, Chief. Indeed, Emma Sky's fingerprints were on this piece of cloth. However, at that point in time, this was merely a piece of cloth, nothing more. What? You see, it's written right here in this book. The second rule of evidence law. Rule number 1. No evidence shall be shown without the approval of the police department. I found this piece of evidence by myself. Inside your safe. Goes without saying. Did not have approval of the police department. Rule 2. Unregistered evidence presented must be relevant to the case on trial. And here's the crux of the matter. You see, at the time, it was impossible for me to prove the relevance between the cloth and the SL9 incident. What? What kind of nonsense is this? You want relevancy? Just take one look at this picture and... Sorry, but can you recall when was that picture presented?
That was shown only a few moments ago.
No. He's right. At the beginning of today's trial, that piece of cloth was still meaningless. The person who gave it value as evidence was you, Damon Gant. You yourself confessed to a certain truth. Let me verify this once more. On the day of the crime, you personally cut out this piece of the victim's vest? Oh yes. No! It was then that you approved this cloth as conclusive evidence. Yes, you, the chief of police, personally approved this cloth. The only person who could have cut it from the victim's vest is the one who stood before Prosecutor Marshall in his final moments. In other words, the real murderer. And And there's only one person who that could be. Damon Gant. The killer was you. I knew I should have gotten rid of him. That good-for-nothing scum! For 2 years he's been snooping around the department, trying to get something on me. Crimes are being committed every day, yet he insists on hounding me. Well, your crime wasn't exactly petty. He wanted to reinvestigate that case. He recruited Angel Starr and convinced Bruce Goodman. Detective Goodman? Yeah, that's right. If the evidence is transferred, I'll lose my only chance to find the truth. Please, you gotta help me. Goodman turned him down, as he ought to. Still, Jake Marshall didn't know when to quit. He stole Goodman's ID card and tried to take the evidence. Goodman came to me that day. He wanted to file a lost item report. I went with him to the evidence room, and all of a sudden he decided to speak out. What are you talking about, Goodman? Can you please reopen the Can you please reopen the investigation, Chief? Can't transfer the evidence out. There are too many questions left unanswered. He opened his evidence locker as he was taking the evidence out. He said, "It's not too late. I'm gonna hand this over to Marshall." Well, to be honest, I was a bit taken aback by his words. I had a bad feeling when he came to see me, but I never thought he'd bring up SL9. That's when I saw it. That accursed knife. I couldn't just pull it out. Doing so would have only led to more blood, making it near impossible to hide your crime. Even so, the blood was just pouring out. I didn't know who might stumble in, so I hurried to wipe it up. I was worrying so much about the floor, I didn't realize my fatal mistake. Bloody handprint. On Detective Gumshoe's locker. I used to be known as the crime computer. But everyone has to start somewhere, I guess. I was too nervous. I had no business doing any of it. And you put the body in my car. I'm sorry, I couldn't think of any other way to move the body. I broke your trunk, but what's the big deal? You make a lot more than us detectives ever will. Ugh. Leaving the prosecution's car aside. How? How could you get Miss Skye involved in all of this? Well, she had as much to lose as I did if the truth came out. So you took the evidence from Detective Goodman's locker. I felt bad for having him do it too. I didn't have time to pick and choose what to take. So, you left the jar fragments in that glove. Yeah. Looks like I was better off being an investigator of crimes than a committer. They all did their best to get in my way. I've got to hand it to them. They do their jobs well, much to my dismay. Fake evidence doesn't hold up very well upon close examination. You must have known that. Tell me, Worthy. Why do you stand in court? Me? You despise criminals. I can feel it. You and me, we're the same. One day you'll understand. Oh, believe me, you will. You're just one man. You'll see what it really means to bring them down once you try and go it alone. Well, it looks like it's time to say goodbye. Oh, Udgy. What? Looks like we'll have to cancel that lunch date. Sorry, old friend.
I'm sorry too, Damon Gant. I knew you as you used to be, long ago. You were once a fine investigator and an example to others on the force. I'm sorry to learn that you are no longer that person.
Those days are gone now, Edgy. Thanks for all the memories, though. Don't worry, you'll be fine. Now you have Righto here. And Worthy. With those two around, you can't go wrong. In fact, I can hear them already. The melodious sounds of a new beginning. There are two things I want you to understand. Yes? First, your sister never hurt anyone. Second, Damon Gant betrayed you from the beginning. You see, Miss Sky? You no longer have any reason to keep silent. You're right. When this trial is over, I'll tell everything. All that I've done these past 2 years. From the time I had Gant help me forge evidence up until today.
So, seems all the questions raised in this trial have been answered.
I'm sorry, Miss Sky. I couldn't get you out of all your trouble. My. What high standards you have for a rookie. I can see why Mia thought so highly of you. Who knows? A few years from now, you just might make it to the top. Ah. I owe you my thanks, Mr. Wright. Miss Sky? And to you, Mr. Edgeworth? You suffered every bit as much as I have over these past few days. Believe me, I know how much of an ordeal it has been for you. It was nothing. Liar. I was worried the pressure might break you. And yet, you rose above it all and guided Mr. Wright to victory. You've done well, Mr. Edgeworth.
Stop it. I only did my job. In light of this case, it seems a good self-examination is in order for all of us. Miss Sky.
Yes, Your Honor.
You are innocent of murder, however. Although the chief blackmailed you, it is a fact you still acted as his accomplice. A trial will be scheduled for these crimes at a later date.
Yes, I understand, Your Honor.
There's something amusing about all this. Why are you smiling?
It's been a long time, Your Honor. A long time since I felt free of these heavy chains.
Well, this trial has gone on far too long already. Regarding the charge of murder, this court finds the defendant, Miss Lana Sky,
not guilty. Fuck yeah. Man, this was a thing. Good lord.
That is all. This court is adjourned.
February 25th, 5:03 p.m. District Court, Defendant Lobby number 2. Alright, so I got most of that. I'm very impressed that I had the shape of it so early. I didn't quite call the inciting incident of Gant murdering Neil and framing Emma for it. But man, this is fucking wild. At long last, it's finally over. Emma? Why the long face? I'm sorry your sister didn't get completely off the hook. At least she wasn't convicted for a murder she didn't commit. No, that's not it. Just now after the trial ended. I can see why Mia Faith thought so highly of you. This was bonkers long. Good lord, I heard that they get ridiculous, like... in the later games, they get super ridiculous long. But I didn't expect it, like, holy fuck, I really felt it. This is long. Give me my thanks, Mr. Wright. And to you too, Edward. After every bit as much as I have over these past few days, you've done very well. You know, I did my best too. But Lana didn't say a single word to me.
Hope I'm not interrupting anything, pals.
God damn it, Gumshoe. You kind of are.
Oh, guess I am. I'll come back later.
Wait, Detective Gumshoe? What is it?
You're doing this on purpose, aren't you? Making a detective run around while on duty. And to top it off, you call me here. I've seen happier people at funerals. Hey, lighten up, pals. I'm only kidding.
Oh. Are you here because of my sister again?
Nope. Not this time. I came today because of you, pal.
Me?
That's right. I thought you'd like to see someone.
Oh, Lana.
Lana.
Should you be doing this? She's still under arrest, you know.
Well, I won't tell if you won't.
Emma, I owe you an apology. It's okay, sis. Don't worry about it. That day 2 years ago, it was the first time in my life I ever panicked. It was all I could do to keep myself from screaming. All I could think about was keeping you from getting wrapped up in this mess. Sis, I asked Gant to help me cover up the truth. I thought I was doing it for your sake. But now, I realize I was wrong. I changed after that day. I had to. It was the only way I could make it through the past 2 years. I knew how much I was hurting you by distancing myself. I couldn't bring myself to tell you what I did. I was scared. Scared that you might look at me with those eyes of yours. I was scared of how you'd react if you knew. Sis, you were only doing it for me. No. Huh? I turned my back on you that day. In hiding what I believed to be the truth, I was deceiving you. Sis. I'm such a fool. It took me all this time to realize it. Emma, I'm so sorry. But sis, you don't have to apologize. I'm happy now. You're happy? Of course. You know, sis, I always knew that one day you'd come back. And now you have. Oh, Emma. Emma. Aww. Oh, look at it. It's so cute. It's so wholesome. No one can change the past. The only thing we can do is strive to make up for it. Strive to make up for our mistakes. Why must we make up for our mistakes, you ask? Because in doing so, we find ourselves the way back to our rightful path. It is from there that we can move on toward a brighter future. At least, that's what I felt watching the two sisters make up. Mr. Wright? Mr. Gumshoe?
Me?
Thank you both for all you've done. I'm sure we'll meet again someday. Isn't that right, Edgeworth? Edgeworth? Stop hiding and come over here. Where was he hiding? I just came to say, congratulations. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Edgeworth. Right. Well, I'll be going now. Mr. Edgeworth, I hope you don't blame yourself for what happened. We were the ones who acted corruptly, not you. It's too late for me. No matter what anyone may say, I realized today that I can't correct my mistakes. Mr. Edgeworth. Not only that, but I don't even trust myself anymore. Chief Gant was right. You despise criminals, I can feel it. You and me, we're the same. One day you'll understand. Oh, believe me, you will. You're just one man. You'll see what it really takes to bring them down once you try and go it alone. I do despise criminals. I plan to dedicate my entire life to fighting them. But in order to fight crime on my own, I needed a weapon. It's scary. I've known that to be true for quite some time now. But Edgeworth, who knows? Given enough time, I might have tried to pull something like Chief Gant did. That thought terrifies me. That's why I can't continue on as a prosecutor. Edgeworth, don't you understand? Damon Gant and your mentor, Manfred von Karma, were both the best of the best when it came to fighting crime. But they both made the same mistake. You said in order to fight crime on my own, I'd need a weapon. It may be true. Think back to today's trial. You weren't alone. You were working together with Mr. Wright. And because of that partnership, you were able to present evidence that otherwise would have gone unnoticed. Isn't that right, Mr. Wright? Huh? What? Oh, yeah. What is this, a pop quiz? Come on, Mr. Wright. Show him what Lana's talking about. Evidence, huh? The evidence list, right? Yeah. That's the picture I drew. Our counterattack began with this. You had one half of the evidence list, and I had the other. Apart, we wouldn't have been able to completely restore Emma's picture. That didn't just happen by chance, Mr. Edgeworth. It's time for me to go. Mr. Edgeworth, if you'll excuse me, there's still some loose ends that need wrapping up. Take care, Chief Prosecutor. Edgeworth, what will you do now? Well, whatever you do, just remember. Oh, whatever you do, just remember. You can let what happened kill the... You can let what happened kill the prosecutor in you, or you can let it help you grow. In the end, it's up to you. I know. Seems I owe you my thanks too, right? What I face now is my problem. Edgeworth, I'll be waiting for you in court. Farewell. Aw, Edgeworth. I better be going too. Okay. I'll be by to visit soon. Seems we both have a lot to learn and catching up to do. Here. This is a little something for you. A scientific investigation. These are adorable books that you have, Lana. The first book I ever bought. Study it well. Thanks, sis. I will. Aww. So sweet. And so another case came to a close. As for the sisters, I have faith. Faith that their lives have only just begun. And as for me, I think it's time I started on a new journey of my own. A journey to rediscover myself.
Well, don't go trekking off just yet, pal.
Huh? What is it, Detective?
There's just a little matter to be resolved about the chief prosecutor. You see, she isn't supposed to be out of jail like this.
But I thought you said it was okay.
Yeah, well, it may be okay with me. The folks at the prison are a different story.
Huh?
Basically, I had to bribe a guard in order to sneak her out for 30 minutes. Believe me, it wasn't cheap either.
Huh? Way to go, Detective. I didn't know you had a wild side.
Yeah, well, you see, Mr. Wright here's the one who'll be footing the bill. Huh? Huh? What, you think I could afford it with my salary? You gotta be kidding me, pal. Huh? Huh? Huh?
Thank you, Mr. Wright. You're the best. Why is it? I suddenly feel like I want to scream.
Hey, I got an idea. Why don't we all go pay it off together?
Yeah, that'll be a great idea. Come on, guys. Let's go. Aye, there we go. That was fun. I really like this extra trial. I arranged for a friend of mine in Europe to take care of Emma. I hope she'll be pleased to study under a top coroner. As for me, this affair has pretty much ended my days at the prosecutor's office. Still, I managed to find my way back to the field somehow. Then, I'll be able to investigate crimes together with Emma. Aww, that's so sweet. Man, this trial was fucking long, but it was good. Like, I really liked all of the pacing of it. I liked the twists of it, even if it was, like, stupid convoluted. Like, Danganronpa level convoluted.
Yikes. I thought I was a goner for a moment there. In the end, though, they overlooked my unauthorized investigation of the chief's office. To penalize you anymore, it'd be worse than firing you. Yep, that's what they said. It just goes to show, can't shake me off that easily.
Ah, man. If that's what I have to look forward to for the rest of the games, I'm excited, and I'm also dreading it. Because that means they're gonna be fucking long. Like, holy shit. I thought Case 4 was long. This is nuts, though. My new mission is to guard the main entrance and take care of Billy. Can you believe it? I've been demoted to a security guard. My partner's keeping an eye on the entrance for me today. I'll show them, though. Someday I'm gonna make detective. Yes, sir. Then I can be just like that dick don't be like Gumshoe. Gumshoe is a very admirable person. Don't be like Gumshoe. There's the badger. Look at him go. Look at him wave. It's kind of fucked up that he has a billy club. Yeah, like, it's kind of fucked. It's kind of fucked. Oh no, he fell over. Oh, badger. That's sad. Toshisaki. Yumitaki. Hey, it's Marshall.
What is it? Can't you see I'm having me a showdown with the steak lunch partner? Miss Star managed to sneak this into me. She's seeing one of the guards, it seems. Well, cowboy, looks like you did it. Even gave Bambino a back her smile. You can make sure Billy and the gang get their water.
Ah, hopefully Meekins doesn't kill his cactuses. That'd be sad. Looks like we won't be seeing each other for a while. A farewell gift. Put a new meal on the menu. The right way lunch. The top layer tastes as bitter as defeat, but the bottom layer is as sweet as victory. Kids seem to dig the turnabout theme. It's a hot seller around exam time. Just make sure not to eat it backwards. Aww. Good. Ah, Angel must be happy. We got to the truth of it, and we fucked over some prosecutors.
I'll never forget that young defense lawyer said after the trial. Let's see what his name was again. Mr. Left? Anyway, said he's been doing something or other for, how many years? Well, anyway, got another trial to get to, so I'd better be... Huh? Oh, no, I forgot my gavel. Sorry, gotta go.
Oh god, that's what his chair looks like? Yeah, after the stream I remembered. Ah, nothing soothes the soul like fresh country air. Still, sometimes I do miss hearing you and your objection. Still, I can't go back until I'm a full-fledged spirit medium. Mr. Maya, afternoon training is about to begin. Coming. Well, see you around, Nick. Ah, Nick's going around. Yeah, I realized after the fact, like, alright, stream's over, that was fun. But I looked in this chat and was like, I didn't actually, throw out a notification. Oops, my bad. Sorry about that. Mr. Edgeworth. Mr. Edgeworth. I brought you your tea. What's going on? Oh no, did he resign? Oh, that's sad. He resigned and he went on a journey to find himself. Thanks for coming to see me off. Can't believe I'm going to Europe. Thank you, Mr. Wright. Thank you so much for everything. I'm a little sad, but I'll be alright. Whenever I want to see Lana, all I have to do is open this book. Aww. Oh? Aww. Oh, that's adorable. Look at him. Rise from the ashes. There we go. That is the entirety of the first Ace Attorney game. And there we go. That's it. There's the first Ace Attorney game. Man, this is a really good series. All of these old games that I'm playing through, I'm so happy that I'm playing them because they're all really good. I'm so happy to have gotten through Danganronpa, and I'm really happy to have finished the first Ace Attorney. Like, there's a reason it's stuck around for so long. Man, that was good. Just the original, like, Japanese-only Game Boy Advance one. Those first four trials, those were nuts. That was so good. I liked them all. Even, like, with the problems I had with Case 2. Like, I still really liked the entirety of the... I still really like the game in the whole. And with the extra chapter they added with the DS version that was released in the West, the 5th chapter, like, that was all really fun. I like the extra bit of investigating we have now that they had the touchpad. That trial, that was crazy long. It was really good. I like that it still managed to keep some twists right to the end, but I still had managed to get the main picture of it. It did a really good job. Like, there's a reason that people like it so much. And now I'm happy to have played it. So yeah, there's Ace Attorney 1. What's the plan next? Tomorrow I'm gonna take a nap. Thursday, I would like to start playing Doki Doki. So Thursday, we're probably gonna start Doki Doki Literature Club Plus. And then Friday, I don't have D&D this week, so I guess we will start on Ace Attorney 2. That's a lot to look forward to. Hopefully it won't be as convoluted as this trial, but, I mean, sequels, I mean, if you're using Danganronpa as the meter stick, like, this first trial in sequels is bonkers compared to the first trial in the original game, so maybe it will be crazy. I don't know yet. I guess we'll have to see. But anyway, thanks for hanging out. Thanks for watching. This is a lot of fun for me, and I'm very happy to be getting through these. So yeah. Tomorrow no stream. Thursday we'll take a peek at Doki Doki Plus. Friday we will begin Ace Attorney 2. And then maybe we'll see if I have a schedule for next week. I just wish I wasn't so shit at art. So yeah.